Have you ever wondered, it's been 10 years since Monster Hunter made the leap into the next-gen era. Remember the first time you lay your eyes on that teaser? And now we've already been through 3 generations and nearly a decade of hunting. It makes you wonder, how much has Capcom actually changed when it comes to the exact same monster, and what specific tweaks did they make? This is Tatiyu, and in this video I'm gonna track down some exact same moves performed by Rathian across 3 generations. And to keep things fair, they're all captured in the arena, and all games are running on maximum 4K settings with the highest textures available. This way we can really sit back, take a closer look at our favorite queen of the land, and try to figure out what she's been through over the last 10 years. Of course, due to hardware limitations, Rise is gonna take a blow in the graphics department, but graphics is not our focus here. First up, let's talk about the iconic roar. The biggest differences here come down to audio design and visual effects. In World and Rise, Rathian sounds quite similar. It had this slightly high-pitched, screechy edge to it, but in Wilds, it's a completely different story. They clearly stripped away that high pitch and went with a much deeper, huskier, more primal sound. It's like she went from sounding like a dinosaur from Jurassic Park to a real-life apex predator. I think the designer wanted Wilds to lean more into a living, breathing ecosystem rather than just a video game monster. As for the visuals, in World, when Rathian roars, it had this pulsing radio blur effect across the screen, combined with some kind of heat haze emitting from her body. It really feels like there's a massive shockwave hitting your face. Rise, on the other hand, goes a bit more anime style. Tons of gas burst out and a very heavy motion stop effect. This style really fits the game's colorful tone. Then you look at Wilds, and to me, it actually feels a little bit of a step back. No crazy gas, no intense screen shake, just a simple radio blur. Personally, I think World nailed the cinematic impact here. This also kinda sets the tone for the rest of the comparison. Wilds seems way more obsessed with realism over engaging effects. Next up, charge and tail sweep. The actual physical animation hasn't changed much across all 3 generations. However, there's one major difference in the particle physics, and you're gonna notice this pattern across all of her physical attacks. In World and Rise, whenever Rathian runs, she kicks up a massive cloud of dust with just a few tiny pebbles flying out. But in Wilds, it just doesn't go that heavy on dust clouds. And with tail sweep, again, World and Rise give you that classic dust cloud simulation, while Wilds keep the dust to a minimum but showers you with broken rocks. This brings us to dive, and which brings us to how Wilds handles environmental physics, which is of course an upgrade to World and Rise. In World and Rise, no matter where Rathian lands, she will blow up a dust cloud with her wings, and kicks up a massive dust cloud when she lands. In Wilds, if you do this in the arena, you barely see any dust at all, just a few flying pebbles. Feels like before you get in there, palicles spend their entire morning scrubbing the floors. But if you fight her in the actual desert, suddenly those massive sand and dust clouds are back. Capcom clearly wanted the environment to matter. If you're not standing on loose dirt, you shouldn't be magically creating dust clouds. There are also a couple of little animation details during the dive. First, right before launching the dive, Rathian noticeably curls her tail inward in both Rise and Wilds, but she doesn't do this in World. Second, in Rise, during the actual dive, her tail goes up in this weirdly perky way, almost like she's having a blast diving towards you. But in World and Wilds, she doesn't do that. So why do you think that is? Now for the backflip, the move that's packed with subtle details. In World and Rise, the tail whips through the ground with a smooth and clean whoosh sound. But in Wild, there's a difference. You can literally see and hear the tail drag against the ground before it whips upward. Like the monster is going through its own version of hit lag, just like what we've been going through in Rise. And also, when Rathian flips in World, her tails leave a scratch mark on the ground. I don't blame Rise for not having that, but it's a shame Wild didn't carry that one over either. I think this is a cheap but visually appealing design, so why not do it? And have you noticed this? In World and Rise, even if you successfully dodge and counter the backflip, the counterattack always misses because Rathian is too high above the ground. But they tweaked that one a little bit. In Wilds, after the backflip, Rathian is noticeably lower, making it easier for hunters to counterattack. One last thing, the landing animation. In World and Rise, when Rathian lands, her lower legs are basically stiff, locked out, and all that shock absorption happens at the hip. In Wilds, the entire leg bends, flexes, and absorbs the weight of the impact naturally. It looks incredibly fluid. Finally, let's talk about her signature move, the Firballs. This is where the insane amount of subtle tweaks happens. First off, the sound. World and Rise focus heavily on a sharp inhale gasping sound before she spits the fire. Wilds ditches that completely and replaces it with a deep, heavy inhale sound and rumbles with the sound of flame. Honestly, I prefer the one in Wilds. It just sounds real, like an organic internal engine sparkling up, rather than a dragon having an asthma attack. Then, the motion. In World and Rise, when Rathian spits out a fireball, it looks like only the front half of her body is doing the work. Her butt and tail is completely relaxed. In Wilds, they gave her a full body physics. The exact moment the fireball spits out, her tail tenses and jerks. Have you guys seen that dog barking and escaping video? It feels exactly like that, and it feels alive. I don't think the designers were thinking about a dog's asshole when they did this, but it just feels right. Also, during her triple fireball in Wilds, her tail sways left and right to counterbalance her aiming. She don't do that in World and Rise. After the fireball in Rise and Wilds, there will be some flame residues around her mouth. Wilds does it even better. You can actually see the inside of her mouth and throat glowing white hot from the heat and slowly cooling down over time. So after the fireball, Rathian will shake her head as if she's trying to shake off the fire residues. But in World, it's weird. After the spitting, her mouth goes dry instantly. It's like she put up so much force into that spit, she completely blasted her mouth clean in one go. Then she shakes her head like that powerful spit gave her a concussion. Of course, when it comes to the actual explosion of the fireball, Wilds completely takes the win. Last generation, right? In World, Capcom did a great job of showing scorched earth where the fireball hits. But Wilds take it into a whole new level with fully simulated terrain destruction. You can actually see the ground getting blasted apart, rocks shattering and flying everywhere, and a much more realistic explosion and fire effect. It really sells the weight and danger of that explosive force. Now, the most visually interesting comparison I think comes down to the big fireball. Aside from the better explosion physics in Wilds, there are some designer tweaks. In Rise and Wilds, when charging, Rathian has this continuous flame building around her jaws, especially in Wilds. Not just flames, her mouth starts glowing blinding white light like a blowtorch. This light is so bright it actually illuminates the ground beneath her chin, which then reflects back onto her face. Then boom, she unleashes a massive fireball with a distinct blue core. From a physics standpoint, white and blue means absolute maximum thermal energy. Capcom is visually telling you this. This thing is hot. But World did something both incredibly unique and weird. During the charge up, Rathian's mouth actually sparks with purple flames. Right before the launch, all the fire vanishes for a split second, creating this eerie, terrifying calm before the storm wipe. And then she launches a massive purple fireball. Now, scientifically speaking, flames don't turn purple from just being hot. Purple fires happens when there's other chemical stuff involved. So, is this maybe the designer trying to tell like a good bit of monster biology that her big fireball is reacting maybe with her internal poison sacs, creating a volatile chemical reaction sort of thing? Of course, while World's purple flame was a super cool creative choice, Wilds' blinding white and blue flame is easily the most visually stunning and realistic depiction we've ever seen. Honestly, tracking down how the single monster evolves across 3 generations is so much fun. It gives you a literal window into what the designers are prioritizing and thinking about over the years. Unfortunately, there aren't many monsters that have consistently made the roster across World, Rise, and Wilds now, which is why Rathian was the perfect candidate for this video. Hopefully, once the expansion is out, we'll get more returning monsters to compare. If you enjoyed this kind of breakdown, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and drop a comment below letting me know which generation's effect is your favorite. Love you all, and I'll see you in the next one.